The Unshakable Emperor. Why the strongest leaders never show their pain. What I'm about to tell you will dismantle everything modern psychology has taught you about dealing with suffering. While everyone today screams, "Express your feelings and share your trauma," there's a brutal truth they actively refuse to acknowledge. 95% of people who constantly broadcast their struggles remain perpetually trapped in permanent victimhood. But here's the revelation that will shock you. The most powerful man in human history did the exact opposite. While the world was consumed by crying over their problems, Marcus Aurelius was systematically conquering the known world. He ruled the Roman Empire during devastating plagues that killed millions, wars on multiple fronts, relentless political betrayals, and chronic illness that tormented him daily. Yet his vast empire saw only unshakable strength. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This was not emotional suppression, this was strategic mastery. As Diogenes Laertius is recorded to have said, "Man conquers the world by conquering himself." Ancient Stoic wisdom built civilizations through inner discipline, while modern therapy culture creates continuous dependency. The Roman legions conquered through disciplined silence. Today's generation demands safe spaces for every hurt feeling. Modern neuroscience now confirms what this emperor discovered 2 millennia ago. People who practice strategic concealment develop significantly higher pain thresholds than those who constantly externalize and express their struggles. This fundamental psychological advantage separated emperors from slaves throughout all of human history. Notice the stark pattern. Scan through social media for those who constantly broadcast their mental health journey. Now, examine the leaders commanding Fortune 500 companies, building generational wealth, and spearheading movements. Notice what they don't share publicly. By the end of this revelation, you'll understand exactly why the strongest people never show their pain. The question is, are you ready to learn the secret they've been hiding from you? Or will you continue seeking comfort in the very weakness that keeps you eternally trapped? The Stoic mask, private processing, public authority. Here's the secret that separated Marcus Aurelius from every other leader in history. While commanding the Roman legions against the formidable Germanic tribes, while the Antonine Plague savagely ravaged his cities, and while his own body deteriorated from chronic illness, Marcus discovered a profound, ultimate truth. Your dignity depends entirely on how you respond to suffering, never on whether others know about it. For times when you feel pain, see that it doesn't disgrace you or degrade your intelligence. It doesn't keep it from acting rationally or unselfishly. This was the Stoic mask, the deliberate, intentional
choice to master your wounds instead of displaying them to the world. Consider the strategic genius inherent in this approach. Marcus understood that the very moment an emperor showed a crack of weakness, the empire itself became vulnerable. Every general under his command, every senator in Rome, every barbarian tribe watching from beyond the borders, they all measured imperial strength by the leader's unshakable composure under pressure. Modern leaders who deeply grasp this principle command the exact same authority. Your colleagues or rivals cannot detect your struggles. They cannot weaponize them against your position. When your competitors cannot see your wounds, they lose their ability to strategically exploit them. When your team witnesses unshakable confidence instead of emotional volatility, they follow you, fearlessly, into impossible challenges. But here is where most people fundamentally get this wrong. The Stoic mask was not about denial or empty emotional suppression. Marcus felt every ounce of his pain. The ulcers tearing through his stomach, the agonizing weight of millions dying from plague, the profound betrayal of trusted allies. His private journals, the Meditations, reveal a man wrestling with immense, crushing suffering. The difference was that he processed that pain internally. while meticulously maintaining external strength. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Ancient Rome built the greatest civilization in history because their leaders understood a fundamental biological truth. Strength attracts followers and resources. Weakness repels them. Roman culture relentlessly celebrated those who endured without complaint, precisely because visible suffering was viewed as socially destabilizing. Compare this to modern culture, which actively rewards emotional display with immediate but fleeting attention and sympathy. We've engineered a generation that performs their pain for validation, rather than mastering it for true, enduring power. Your personal empire, whether your business, your key relationships, or your self-development regimen, operates on this identical, timeless principle. People gravitate toward those who appear to have mastered life's challenges, not toward those who broadcast their struggles for temporary sympathy. The stoic mask becomes your greatest weapon. Internal awareness combined with external composure. Feel everything, show nothing, master everything. Every therapist in the world will tell you this approach is dangerous. But Marcus Aurelius built the greatest empire in history using precisely this formula. The private gymnasium, transforming pain into unbreakable resilience. During brutal, grinding military campaigns on the Danube frontier, while managing an empire spanning 3 continents, Marcus began writing his private notes. These were not letters, philosophical treatises for publication, or imperial decrees. They were fragmentary, raw, personal reflections. An emperor talking to himself about how to handle unimaginable suffering. What emerged from this isolated discipline was the Meditations, the ultimate manual for transforming pain into private, concentrated power. Pain is neither unbearable nor unending as long as you keep in mind its limits and don't magnify them in your imagination. Here's the revolutionary psychological insight Marcus stumbled upon. When you process pain privately, instead of desperately seeking external comfort, you cultivate genuine internal resilience rather than performative, fragile vulnerability. Modern psychology has this backwards. They tell you to share your feelings, which creates chronic dependency on external validation. Marcus proved that internal dialogue builds mental sovereignty, while external performance creates inescapable weakness. Consider the precise mechanism. Every time you broadcast your struggles, you are actively programming your subconscious to identify with the problem rather than with the solution. You become the person who struggles with anxiety instead of the person who overcomes challenges. Seneca, Marcus's philosophical predecessor, understood this principle absolutely. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. When pain remains internal, you maintain crucial perspective. When it becomes a public performance, imagination amplifies it beyond all reasonable limits. The emperor's private discipline protocol was deceptively simple, yet devastatingly effective. Isolated processing. Marcus wrote alone in his tent, facing his struggles without an audience or a trace of sympathy. No social media posts about imperial stress, just raw, private confrontation with reality. Reframe through writing. Each journal entry transformed the victim's thinking into the victor's thinking. Instead of asking, "Why is this plague destroying my empire?" he wrote about duty, service, and what remained within his sovereign control. Physical channeling. Ancient sources describe Marcus maintaining rigorous physical discipline even during illness. Pain that couldn't be eliminated was channeled directly into bodily strength and endurance training. This creates what modern research confirms:
People who strategically conceal emotional pain develop significantly higher tolerance thresholds across all categories of suffering. Your brain literally rewires for resilience when you stop seeking external rescue. Observe the brutal contrast in your own life. Notice people who constantly share their mental health struggles on social platforms. They remain tragically stuck in identical, debilitating patterns year after year. Now, observe those who handle monumental challenges privately while maintaining productive action. They consistently advance and shatter through difficulties. Marcus faced plague, war, betrayal, and chronic illness, yet built history's most stable empire. His secret? Hidden pain becomes your private gymnasium for mental strength. The psychological trap, identity hijacking and power redistribution. Marcus Aurelius uncovered a devastating psychological trap that destroys more human potential than any external enemy. The moment you reveal your pain to others, you fundamentally hand them the power to define you. Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. Here is what the emperor understood that modern culture deliberately ignores. When people know your wounds, they begin seeing you exclusively through the lens of your suffering, rather than your capabilities. You transform from a person who happens to experience challenges into the person with problems. Watch this dynamic in your own professional relationships. The colleague who constantly shares their struggles at work, are they seen as promotion material or as someone who needs extra support? The friend who makes their trauma their primary conversation topic, do people seek their advice, or do they become the person others try to fix? Marcus faced betrayals that would crush most leaders. Avidius Cassius, his most trusted general, declared himself emperor, while Marcus was simultaneously fighting plague and war. Yet Marcus never publicly processed this betrayal, never sought sympathy from the Senate, never made his personal pain a public matter. The trap operates through three sophisticated mechanisms. Dependency creation. Every time you seek comfort for your pain, you program yourself to need external validation for internal struggles. Seneca warned, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." When you anticipate sympathy, you begin manufacturing additional suffering to justify that sympathy. This is a perpetual engine of weakness. Identity hijacking. Others start defining you by your lowest moments rather than your highest achievements. You become the anxious one, the depressed one, the one going through a hard time. This new identity becomes a prison that is incredibly difficult to escape because people expect consistency with your established narrative of fragility. Power redistribution. The moment others know your weaknesses, they instantly hold leverage over you. They can use your shared vulnerabilities against you in conflicts, withhold sympathy as a form of punishment, or treat you as fragile when you desperately need to be seen as strong. Modern platforms tragically profit from this trap. Social media algorithms aggressively reward emotional content because it generates engagement. The attention economy literally monetizes your pain, but you only receive the fleeting likes, while major corporations collect the lasting revenue. Marcus discovered the ultimate antidote. Let the body avoid discomfort if it can, but the soul suffers nothing. He precisely distinguished between physical reality and psychological interpretation.
Physical pain exists. Emotional suffering around that pain becomes optional when you stop feeding it with external attention. The emperor's approach: process privately, perform publicly. Feel everything internally while maintaining strategic composure externally. This preserves your agency over both your pain and your identity. Quiet power, the strategic advantage of unshakable composure. Marcus Aurelius discovered the most counterintuitive weapon in human psychology. The power you don't display becomes more intimidating than the power you do. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. While his enemies raged, complained, and broadcast their frustrations across the Roman world, Marcus maintained strategic silence about his internal struggles. This was not passive endurance. It was psychological warfare at the highest, most sophisticated level. Consider the devastating mechanism. When people cannot measure your breaking point, they cannot predict your responses. When they cannot see your wounds, they cannot target them. When your composure remains unshakable, they are forced to begin questioning their own strength and resolve in comparison. The emperor understood that silence becomes ammunition, but in reverse. Instead of giving others bullets to use against you, you are withholding crucial information that could fatally weaken your position. Every struggle you don't share becomes a mystery others must navigate around. This creates what researchers now call quiet power, the psychological advantage held by those whose capabilities remain unmeasurable because their struggles stay hidden. When others can't gauge your limits, they assume those limits are higher than their own. Professional environments. Colleagues promote those who appear unshakable under pressure, rather than those who constantly seek support. Leadership gravitates toward those who seem to have mastered difficulties privately. Competitive situations, negotiation, sport. Opponents respect what they can't predict or exploit. The negotiator whose emotional triggers are visible holds less power than the one whose breaking point remains unknown. The athlete who shows no visible reaction to immense pressure becomes more formidable. Social dynamics. Who commands respect in challenging situations? The person who endures hardship with dignity, gravitas, or the one who seeks validation for their suffering? Strength attracts reliance. Weakness repels it. Marcus faced assassination attempts, military defeats, and family tragedies while maintaining imperial authority. His silence about these struggles became his legendary strength. Roman historians noted that people followed him into impossible battles precisely because they never witnessed him expressing doubt or despair. Your silence becomes your armor. What others can't see, they can't attack. What they can't measure, they can't exceed. What remains hidden becomes your greatest strategic advantage. The anti-fragility.
Protocol. Sovereign judgment. Most people run from pain, but Marcus Aurelius turned every betrayal, plague, and military defeat into his greatest mentor. Here's the brutal lesson they taught him. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This emperor faced challenges that would break most leaders. He systematically viewed this as curriculum for building unshakable leadership. The transformation happens through a simple, precise shift in questioning. Most people ask victim questions, seeking external rescue. Why is this happening to me? How can I make this stop? Who can help me fix this? These questions program your brain for dependency. Marcus trained himself to ask victor questions, seeking internal growth. What skill is this challenge developing in me? How does this pain prepare me for greater responsibility? What strength am I building by enduring this privately? These questions program your brain for anti-fragility. If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. When you broadcast your struggles, you dissipate the energy that could fuel adaptation. Every post about your mental health journey is programming you to identify with the problem, rather than with your capacity to solve it. Seneca affirmed that difficulties strengthen the mind as labor strengthens the body, but this strengthening only occurs when the difficulty is endured internally and transformed into capability. Watch Marcus's teaching protocol in action. Phase 1. Private analysis. The plague was not a tragedy to share. It was a test of imperial leadership to be processed in isolation, without seeking external comfort. Phase 2. Reframe for growth. Instead of, "This betrayal is destroying my trust,"
Marcus wrote about human nature, loyalty, and how understanding treachery makes you a wiser ruler. Pain becomes curriculum rather than complaint. Phase 3. Action integration. Every lesson learned privately became a strength applied publicly. The emperor who processed pain in isolation emerged stronger, more capable, more prepared. The ultimate alchemical formula, sovereign judgment. While millions pay therapists to process their trauma, Marcus Aurelius discovered the ultimate alchemical formula. Hidden pain becomes concentrated power. This mechanism operates through what ancient Stoics called sovereign judgment. When pain remains internal, you maintain complete authority over its meaning. External circumstances may wound your body, but your interpretation determines whether that wound becomes weakness or weaponry. It will suffice thee to remember, as concerning pain, that the mind may, by stopping all manner of commerce and sympathy with the body, still retain its own tranquility. Your personal empire operates on identical principles. Private discipline creates public power. Hidden processing builds visible strength. Silent mastery commands loud respect. Marcus
Proved that the most dangerous people are those whose pain you cannot see, because they've already transformed it into power you cannot measure. Your choice determines which category you inhabit: those who command respect through composed endurance, or those who seek comfort through public struggle. The Stoic ideal endures because it works.